Hi, everybody. This is Nadya Lutz, and I'm here with the awesome Tiffany Rutledge. And I wanted to interview her because she has a really interesting story on how she got interested in AO, and she's a registered nurse. So it's pretty exciting. Tell us a little bit about how you found AO and how you got interested in it.
All right. Well, like Nadia said, I am a registered nurse. I am a wife and a mother. And my journey with AO began just about 3 years ago this month. I met Nadia. It's hard to believe it's gone really fast. And at that time, like many others in the Solux family, I was searching for answers to help someone I love. And that someone was my oldest child. And sometimes I get teary talking about him. So excuse me if that happens. But he had developed something called pandas. And partially through that journey, we also realized that he had four tick-borne illnesses, chronic, including Lyme. And so we had been working with providers all across the United States, some remote, some in person. And I remember just being at my wit's end because for any of you that are parents, you know how hard it is to watch your children struggle. And it was compounded for me because I was also a nurse, and just everything that I was doing and researching to try to find help for him just wasn't giving us any relief. We had spent our life savings probably 3 times over. I remember at one point we were doing some immune modulator injections with a doctor out of Florida at $2,000 each. They had promised us that he would be healed with 3. At 10, the 10th one, my son, told us that he was no longer doing them, and really we hadn't seen much change in him at all. So we were just kind of in a pit, in a very dark pit at that point, and my family was just falling apart. And I was spending countless hours researching, reading, after working full time, trying to keep my family afloat in the evening hours, staying up until 12, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, researching in Facebook groups for pandas and Facebook groups for Lyme. That's when I met Nadia. And so Nadia reached out to me in a Lyme support group and asked me if I had ever considered working with frequencies for my son. And in fact, I had just been researching about a Rife machine. And there was a provider about 30 minutes away from us that did work with Rife. But at this point, my son was refusing any more doctors. He was refusing treatments, medications, any therapies, and hardly leaving the house at all. And so what I needed to be able to figure out to do was how I could help him here where he was and meet him at this point.
And he
And
was
so Nadia
at
offered
18 at that point? 17, 18?
younger, probably, let's see, he's 21 now. So okay, I guess so, about 18 at that point. It was in the 8th grade year when we first started having symptoms.
Okay.
So yeah, and he had had many years already before we met you of just struggling through provider after provider. So with the Rife machine, I had been thinking about it, but it was expensive, and we had already tapped out all of our savings. But we were willing, to do what we need to do. I was a little bit worried about the Rife machine and what sort of time I was going to be able to put into learning it, because I was working full time, still had a family going on here, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And you said, I have a Rife machine and I have this other tool, this AO scanner, and I think you should check it out. So I remember distinctly where I was. I was at a basketball tournament in the Boot Hill of Missouri with my family in the car, and you asked me for some demographic information, and you ran a scan, and it was accurate. And I'm like, holy cow, like, first of all, how could this possibly work? And you told me how much it was going to cost. I think you ran a scan for a few of us in our family, actually, not just Jackson. And you told us how much it costs, and I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? For $149 a month, I'll give it a try for a few months. Try to learn it the best I can, and see what happens. That was like the cheapest thing that we had tried in years. So we gave it a whirl, and I started scanning him, and I started scanning other family members. And it took me so long. I feel like it took me so long to wrap my mind around being able to use scalar waves. Like I was hooking everybody up with the bone conductor. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I don't know how you even stayed with me, because uh, I feel like I was a hot mess, like asking questions like, how could this work? But I was just mind blown. And so I haven't really, discussed with you the main symptoms we had. We had lots of symptoms with Jackson along the way, but the one that was most crippling for our family was rage, and he was having nearly daily rage. And it was, we were in survival mode. Every single person in our house was in survival mode with that. And so I remember building the first playlist called Jackson Crisis. And I researched, did all these things. And anytime I could tell that he was getting intense or in fight or flight, or I noticed his pupils were dilating, I'd run the playlist, and within 30 minutes, he would settle down.
And then you would send me a message. I can't believe it. What is this?
Like, is this really real? So I just thought, well, it was a fluke. This is a fluke. But it happened time and time again. It was repeatable. It was repeatable every time. And I didn't even have to hook him up to the headset. Like, I could be a town over and it would work. I remember going to a training within, I don't know, the first month or so in Utah to learn how to use the scanner, which is an idea. We should do that. And I learned how to muscle test there. And that really kind of helped hone in how I could build playlists and so forth for him. But he was in a crisis when I was there, and I sent the playlist, and it worked from Utah. And I'm like, oh my, how can this work? But I kept then working with my family, but I started also doing other family members, extended family members, and friends. And I remember, so I think I got my scanner in July, and I think I told you in September, hey, I think I can make a business of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I feel like it was forever for me to get my mind wrapped around it, but yet July to September is not that long.
No. And you were working in a hospital, like
during COVID.
During COVID, main provider for your family, insurance, everything.
Yes. And like, I think I can make a business using this tool. And so I was really hating my real job, my real gig at that time, because COVID had just flipped everything upside down. And I decided that I was going to start just kind of scanning people on the side. Still not doing it remote. I was hooking everybody up to the headset. And they were all mind blown of how accurate everything was. And I was trying to help people, with, sending seppies out. And quickly I thought, I can do this. And so I started figuring out, how many scans do I need to do a week? How much would I need to charge? How many scans I could do a week to replace my income working at the hospital? And then would the hospital allow me to stay on PRN while I'm doing this and build my business, so that if it doesn't work out, I can go back. There'll be a job there and my foot will still be in the door. Well, fast forward, I never went back. Never have gone back. And I am not the person that takes these kind of risks. I don't do this. Like, my family is like, I can't believe she's doing this. I have to have a plan. I needed insurance. I needed, 401k. I needed all the things. My husband was self-employed. And I just jumped. And I started a business, brick and mortar in my hometown, Valentine's Day. I opened up my brick and mortar on Valentine's Day. So, 7 months after I was introduced to AO Scan.
In a very, very small town, right? Like,
I live in a town of 4,000 people, 4,500 people.
And you're killing it. Right? Yeah.
And it's great. I first started off with an infrared sauna, and I had one of those in my clinic at the hospital. So, I knew the benefits of that. And I learned all I could learn about essential oils and herbs and supplements, so that I could kind of have some tools and things there as I was scanning people, to give them as we realized needs they had. And then it just kind of just kept morphing, and it still keeps morphing. Like every day I'm making changes on what the community needs. And Solix has been great to help me know what the community needs. And I know they help me kind of keep abreast of what's coming and, what people need. And the scans are doing that too. So it's been a great journey. And so let's see. What other questions do you have, or what can I?
Well, I think we were similar in the fact that when we joined Solex, we had zero interest in doing the MLM business portion of it. So if you could talk a little bit about that, because I think we share that in common. I had no interest. I just wanted to initially just okay, let me get 3. So I just cover my costs, and then it just happens naturally. So talk to a little bit about that.
I was so anti-MLM. Like I said, I live in a very small community, and many of us had been burned by a couple of MLM companies, probably not unlike most of your communities. And I was like, I don't really want a part of that for 2 reasons. I didn't really want the product to be watered down by an MLM, because I really felt like the product was amazing. The tool, the AO scan, was amazing. And I wanted people to believe in that and not have the MLM part of that kind of turn that away, and water down the amazing benefits of it. The second part was basically my ego, because I didn't want people to judge me about being a part of an MLM, because there had just been some real nastiness in my community around that. And I'm like, I don't want people to judge me. And so I kind of skipped out on that part. Interestingly enough, the first 3 people that covered the cost, I didn't really even sell it to them. It sold itself. And they're like, well, I can do this? I can have this at home and use it every day. So very quickly, I had my 3 people to cover my costs without selling it. And I never reached out to others or even let them know that they could have this on their own until Day of Discovery last year. So I was setting at Day of Discovery last year. That was my second Day of Discovery, I think, right? Is that right? Yeah. And I was listening to everyone's stories, and something inside of me just clicked of, what if Nadya wouldn't have reached out to my family? Where would we be? And quite frankly, I don't think we would still be together as a family. And I'm not so sure my son would still be here, because we were having to make very hard decisions about what we were going to do, if he was going to be able to stay living with us. And where would we have been? And I had laid in my bed so many nights just praying, please God, let something good come from all of this. And all these opportunities just kept lining up, one after the other, in opening my space. And that was the good that came from this. And I remember just sitting there at Day of Discovery thinking, he brought this goodness to me, and now my ego is keeping me from sharing it with other people. Mm-hmm. And I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. So I came back and started doing some things and started educating some members of my community. I had a pretty good little following of people that come to all of my classes and believe in me and believe in the service, and they jumped on board. Like, they really jumped on board. And I'm not exactly sure how many people I have right now, but I think higher 20s maybe. And I'm not a strategizer, but I'm learning to do a little strategizing, but it's not necessary that anybody learn how to do that part. Really, you just have to share your story. And that's what I started doing, was sharing my story, ditching the ego about the MLM, letting the AO, do its wonderful thing, because it really, truly does speak for itself. And when people start feeling better and can see the changes, they know. And I also don't think that it was like coincidence that God sent me a tool that was called, Alpha Omega. So it was just like all these little things kept lining up. And I'm on track to be platinum. Did I try to do that? Like, no, like, did I think even at day of discovery last year that that was really truly even a possibility or a goal? It wasn't, but it is now. I mean, because now it's, it's happening. And if someone would have told me, last September, even just, I mean, we're not even a year in, that I would be, in the position that I am, making the income I'm making and helping as many people as I'm helping to teach about the tool, I would have told them they were crazy. I really would have told them that they were crazy. And now I'm helping people every single day with the scanner, and I love that part. Um, I do remember last fall telling you I want to be able to make, well, of course, want to be able to have my subscription covered. So I needed 3 people, but I wanted to be able to make a car payment. I had to buy a new car, and I hadn't had a car payment in, I don't know, 10 years probably, because I drive cars till they die. And I'm like, I just want to be able enough to make a car payment. And the month before last, I made enough to make 5 car payments in 1 month. 1 month.
Awesome.
And it's just so it's so exciting, and I love all the tools that are coming out, and being able to share them. And I really just love this company, and even more than them, I love you. So thank you for reaching out to me in that Lyme support group, and thank you for supporting me and my family, and never giving up on my how could this possibly even work?
We've
Because
all been there.
oh my gosh,
It still
and
happens. I mean, I'm 100%, 500% in, but sometimes when something happens, I'm like, wow, this really works,
yeah, yeah. I have one story that one of the first playlists that I sent that was so mind blowing to me, and that also got my family on board. And so at the time that I got the scanner, I had my youngest son was 12, and he had developed a herpes infection on his thumb when he was a baby. He sucked his thumb, and somebody that got fever blisters spread that virus to him, and he got it. And it took us forever to figure it out. His gums were swollen at the same time, but we didn't really associate them being connected. And finally, a dentist diagnosed it and said it was Whitlow's. It was the herpetic infection. So very healthy kid, hardly ever sick, hardly ever runs a fever, anything. But anytime he would bump his thumb, he would develop sore, and it would be so sore, and his tiny little hand, I can just remember it. And so we would teach him, just as soon as you start to feel the tingle, tell us so we can give you Valtrex, this big horrible blue antiviral. And so that was what we did for years. Well, we are getting ready to go on vacation. So I got the scanner in July. And at the end of the month, we were going on vacation. He's a wakeboarder and a wake surfer. And so I thought, I'm just going to build a playlist for herpes just in case he bumps his thumb, so that doesn't kind of ruin his vacation. So I built the playlist. There's so many things in AO for that. So I built a playlist. I didn't even tell him. So not only did I not hook him up, I didn't even tell him I was sending him. And I played the playlist for him. 2 days later, he comes into the kitchen and says, did you play herpes frequencies for me? And I looked at him like, what? He's nosy and he's smart. So at the time I had the little AO scanner, the device, right? And I thought maybe he walked by and saw his name pulled up and herpes there, the herpes playlist. And I was like, why are you asking that? And he had a bunch of little flat scars. They almost look like little flat warts on his thumb from all the times that he had them, because that herpes virus lives down in those little ganglion nerves. And then he said, they're gone, like gone off of his thumb.
Wow.
And I was mind blown. He was mind blown. I'm like, I did play those. I played those for you like 2 days ago. And knock on wood and praising Jesus, he has not had another episode of that on his thumb since that happened. He has started to get a fever blister a couple of different times on his lip. But if I run the playlist, as soon as he gets the tingle, never comes up. No Valtrex. AO scan for the win. So that's just a couple of stories. But I love the AO scanner. I'm all in to learn everything they have. Every single tool or supplement that comes out, I want to try it. I believe in it. The transducers are amazing. I love the transducers. And I just recently got the mat, and I'm loving the mat as well. So that mat puts me in deep, dreamy sleep. Like wake up and not know where I am, deep
Oh, wow.
sleep. Yeah. So that's my
Well,
story.
thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we've become such good friends. I mean, it's awesome.
Me too. Me too. I can't wait for Day of Discovery again this year.
No, more adventures.
Yeah. More adventures.
All right. Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.